Hey now! What is up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka Review King MB, and I just got back from the theaters. So I'm going to include this in my 31 days of horror movie reviews. I'm talking about The Exorcist Believer. This is a 2023 film it's not a remake, not really even a reboot. I guess it's an official sequel. Even though there has been other sequels to the Exorcist movies in the past, I have not watched any of the sequels. And to be honest, I'm not somebody that grew up on the original Exorcist movie. I didn't watch it until I was in my 20s for the first time. I thought it was creepy. It wasn't until though the second time I watched The Exorcist where I thought, holy fuck, this movie is horrifying. For some reason it hit me so much harder the second time I watched it. So now, the sequel is directed by David Gordon Green. Same guy who brought back the Halloween series with good results to not so good results, especially with how that all ended. So I wasn't sure how this would all turn out. And when you see the trailer, you see that it's basically a similar scenario as far as what happens story-wise. Besides this time, it's two little girls that get possessed. So what I thought of The Exorcist Believer is bleh, bleh, very underwhelming. And I say underwhelming, I wasn't looking forward to this movie. I wasn't expecting a lot from it. It wasn't like I was like, oh man, this is going to be badass. No, I just kind of said, let's see what happens. And I wasn't impressed. I wasn't scared even. I thought this movie was so bland and so nothing special. It's a combination of the original Exorcist being what it is, being such a grandfather of horror movies. It's one of the ones that still, to this day, gets brought up and talked about as one of the best of the best. And even somebody like me, as I said, I didn't grow up on it, but I still watched it and say, yeah, there is something very evil and sinister, and I can see how back in that time period, the 70s, why people freaked out and reacted to it the way that they did. A big problem, I think, with this movie, along with the fact that it doesn't do anything special, it doesn't do anything different, it doesn't elevate the possession, demon, horror genre any more than it probably even can at this point. I've seen too many possession movies. I have. It feels like hundreds of possession movies, especially in the late 2000s, early 2010s. Every week it felt like there was a possession, specifically possession movies, because they were easy to make, super cheap, barely an inconvenience. You could tell that it required little to no plot. At least nothing that you hadn't seen before, especially whether it's kids being possessed or just we've gone through it so many times that you watch this movie and it makes it seem like just another one of those. It doesn't even feel like it's a special one, like it's worthy of the Exorcist title. It just feels like, oh, it's another typical possession movie. Well, the acting is good. For example, the main father, Leslie Odom Jr., I thought he was good. I wish that they had a little bit more to do with his character not necessarily being a believer, given what happened to his wife, how he lost her, and how he has this daughter from her. And I thought they could have delved more into that. I thought they really could have hit that home of what that dynamic is like, what that relationship is like, being without the mother. It's sort of just told to you, but not really shown to you. So there's plenty of disconnect of the characters. There's plenty of, they tell you things, but they don't show you anything. There's another girl that's possessed, and you don't get a lot of her family or her parents as far as what the dynamic is. They don't even really give you much of a backstory of that other girl. It feels like they just did the two girls being possessed because, well, let's make it bigger. Let's make it crazier. Let's have it 2 girls this time. And not just that, it's like they wanted to have a black family be the main ones that are dealing with this, but let's have a little white girl also get possessed, because she looks like, when she gets possessed, the white girl, she looks very much like Linda Blair did back in the original. So it seems like that's the only reason why that girl is put here, because story-wise, they don't do much with that. And I don't really even get into the girls being friends and what that story is and how they even wound up. Like, they don't get into it enough for me to feel invested. They try to tie everything back together, bringing back Ellen Burstyn, and it was cool to see her, sure. But she's 90 years old. She's very, very old. I'm surprised they had her in there doing some of the stuff that she ended up doing, because I just thought, man, yikes. A lot of talk of Regan, Linda Blair. I'm not going to get into what else is going on with that, but they did reference it a lot. I wasn't scared though. There was so many jump scares that I was just sitting there in my chair, just sort of I wasn't even really rolling my eyes. I was just kind of like, all right, I see what you're doing. Or I anticipated the jump scare, and so therefore it didn't scare me. I was never scared once, and I wasn't angry. I wasn't upset. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to get out of here any second. Trust me, I've seen enough horror movies this year alone that made me angry or made me want to stop watching them. So that's why I saw the terrible reviews that this movie is getting. I'm not quite at that level of worst movie of the year. I just don't think it's special. I'm not here to defend it. I'm not here to say, hey guys, be nice. No, it's not a great movie. It's not terrible, but it's not great either. I would probably say, honestly, if I had to rate it, a Netflix and chill. You'd be perfectly fine watching this at home, not paying any extra money.
Oh, yeah.
One thing I did find hilarious, right before I started recording this review, William Friedkin, the original director of the original movie, he passed away. But before he passed away, he was aware that this movie was being made, and he made comments that became public that he knew that this movie was being made. He had no interest in seeing it because he knew it would suck. He specifically said, the director of Pineapple Express, which I like that movie, is making a sequel to my film. He says, if there is an afterlife, when I pass away, I want to personally haunt that director and make his life a living hell. That's hilarious. I was howling with laughter when I read that just a few minutes ago. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below if you too saw The Exorcist Believer. What do you think of it? Or are you not all that interested? I don't blame you. Watch Saw X instead. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later.
Souls taken over by a devilish path. You got me walking on broken glass. Kicking down the door with a Jason mask. With a deck, don't machete, but you motherfuckers know it's heavy. Anytime you're ready, you can get you with a Bowie. Setting up the